Everyone has seen the ASPCA commercials, and I, like many, have to turn my head or change the channel because we cannot stand to see the poor defenseless animals. Let's think back to a couple years ago in 2016. There were a bunch of stories and pictures about how Procter & Gamble's Old Spice deodorant was burning their customers. Now, can you imagine an animal having that kind of reaction? Today I'm going to tell you about how and why animals are tested on and what we can do to stop it. I believe that scientists should not be testing products intended for human usage on animals. And after this speech, you will learn about the history of animal testing, what exactly animal testing is, what laws are there to protect animals, and what alternatives there are to animal testings and companies that do and don't test on animals. Now let's start with the history. According to Rachel Hajar's article in Heart Views, animal testing goes back to the early Greeks such as Aristotle in 384 to 322 BC, who performed experiments on live animals, and it didn't end there. In the 12th century in Moorish Spain, an Arab physician introduced animal testing as an experimental method for testing surgical procedures before applying them to human patients. In 1937, a pharmaceutical company created a drug using DEG. However, DEG was poisonous to humans, but the company's chief pharmacist and the chemists did not know this. This caused a mass poisoning, causing the deaths of more than 100 people, and no animal testing was done. Now let's discuss what animal testing is. And about animal testing on the Humane Society's international website, they refer to animal testing as procedures performed on living animals for the purpose of research into basic biology and diseases, assessing the effectiveness of new medical products, and testing the human health or environmental safety of consumer and industry products such as cosmetics, household cleaners, food additives, and pharmaceuticals and industrial or agrochemicals. Every day there are innocent animals that are abused, tested on, and some even die. Who knows what happens to them before they get to that college or high school anatomy biology class for dissection. Animals such as rats, fish, mice, farm animals, dogs, and even non-human primates like monkeys, and even in some countries, chimpanzees are used in these testings. These animals undergo many things such as inflictions of wounds and burns, food and water deprivation, forced chemical exposure and toxicity testing, and exposure to drugs and infectious diseases at levels that cause pain, illness, distress, and even death. According to Barnaby Fetter's article, Beyond White Rabbits in the New York Times, he states that toxicologists have been working to reduce the killing and animal distress by refining such widely used methods such as the lethal dose 50 and the Draize tests. The lethal dose 50 test shows how toxic a substance is by showing the dosage needed to kill 50% of a group of rodents. The Draize test projects how hazardous a substance is to a human eye by putting drops of a sample solution in a rabbit's eye, usually at such a high concentration that toxicologists say is so strong that it produces distorted results. With that being said, there are some laws that are made to protect these animals. In 1938, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act was passed requiring animal safety and testing in response to public outcry after several tragic incidents involving untested products. According to Animal Research Cures article, Why Did These Companies Test Cosmetics or Other Products on Animals? However, according to the FDA, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act does not specifically require the use of animals in testing cosmetics for safety, nor does the act subject cosmetics to FDA pre-market approval. However, the agency has consistently advised cosmetic manufacturers to employ whatever testing is appropriate for the effective sustaining the safety of their products. It remains the responsibility of the manufacturer to substantiate the safety of both ingredients and finished cosmetic products prior to marketing. And then there comes the Animal Welfare Act. According to the Animal Welfare Act, it requires that the minimum standards of care of treatment be provided for certain animals bred for commercial sale, used in research, transported commercially, and others. The Animal Welfare Act was the first federal law in the U.S. regulating animal research. On August 24th, 1966, the Laboratory Animal Welfare Act was signed into law. On December 24th, 1970, Congress changed the name to the Animal Welfare Act and extended its protection to all warm-blooded animals in laboratories. And there are some alternatives to animal testing, though. The Latin term in vivo means the living blood or the living body of plant or animal, whereas the term in vitro means just using the cells. Using the cells is an alternative method to testing than just testing directly on animals. And Ellie Dolgen's Animal Testing Alternatives Come Alive in U.S. She refers to Roger Curran, the president of the Institute for In Vitro Sciences, who states that the benefits of non-animal, but there is equally a strong drive to get better information and to get it economically fashion. And 92% of the drugs tested on animals fail on human trials anyway. Some people believe that the government should use the people on death row in prison for the deadlier tests instead of wasting an innocent animal's life. Lastly, there is a long list of companies that do tests on animals and that don't. PETA produces quite a few lists on their websites, including a list of companies that do and don't. According to PETA's list called beauty brands, these beauty brands still tested on animals. These companies that do test on animals go as followed: Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Estee Lauder, Revlon, Comet, and more. That means your beloved Old Spice, your makeup brands, and your household cleaners are the ones testing on poor defenseless animals. Also, according to PETA's list called These Companies Don't Test on Animals, these companies do not. Elf Cosmetic, Trader Joe, and Paul Mitchell are all the ones helping to reduce testing on animals. If you look for these products, you will find the symbol that looks like a bunny with huge ears. I believe that a life is a life, whether it be a human or an animal. And in conclusion, the end of animal testing is far from here, but these precautions and many more like the items listed above are a great start. I urge you to find the products that have the cruelty-free symbol and help stop testing on animals.